Now,
containing 60 Hudson quarter-pound beef patties, uncooked, individually quick frozen. The code on that, 155B7. On all three products, there's a USDA inspection seal on the label. Inside the seal, it says EST 13569. If you have any of it, don't eat it. Return it to where you bought it. Well, joining me now with more information about this potentially deadly bacteria is Caroline Smith-DeWall. She is the Director of Food Safety for Center in the Science and the Public Interest. Welcome, Caroline.
Thank you.
Also on the telephone right now, we have John White. He is the Senior Director of Corporate Marketing for Hudson Foods Company. He joins us from Rogers, Arkansas. Thank you, Mr. White, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
How concerned are you, Mr. White?
Well, our company was very concerned, and that's why we put out what we term a voluntary recall of this product. Our concern is for the safety of our consuming public who potentially could buy this product.
Do you believe most of it is eaten at this point and already sold, or do you believe some of it could be on store shelves?
Well, what we feel right now is this product was produced in early June. We received some word that some people got ill in early July, and at this point we feel all the product has gone through the distribution system into the homes, and perhaps so our concern right now is perhaps a few consumers might have it in their freezer.
But you have a bigger concern that this was a big supply company and possibly other distributors have that meat right now.
Well, I can't really say that. We are concerned that we did receive this from a supplier that we use, and we're looking into that matter right now.
Caroline, this type of E. coli, how dangerous is it?
It's very serious. We have 80,000 hamburgers on the market that may be contaminated with the same bacteria that sickened 700 people and killed 4 children in 1993.
So this is very, very serious. Can you tell us what you should do, with any hamburger meat? Obviously, if you have this, throw it out.
If you have this, throw it out or return it to the place where you purchased it. But with any hamburger right now, you need to make sure you cook it well. That means cooking it very thoroughly till it's 160 degrees in the center. It's very important for consumers to do this to protect their families.
Mr. White is possibly concerned that this is at other places. How could this happen?
The industry is working very hard to solve this problem, but it's clear they haven't solved it yet. So consumers need to take steps to protect themselves.
But one large cow could go to a lot of different distributors.
That's right. One cow can infect an awful lot of ground beef. So consumers just can't eat it rare anymore. It's a thing of the past.
Mr. White, do you believe people have already become ill from the meat that was out there?
We understand from the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment that in early July there was approximately 15 people did become ill, and the department did do some investigating and has come back and said that perhaps some of those people did eat the Hudson product. Not all of them, but perhaps some of them.
Which is obviously very upsetting for your company.
Absolutely. We're very concerned, and that's why we did have this voluntary recall and got that out immediately today.
And how did you determine that this older meat was contaminated today? It's weeks later.
Well, we just found out about this. We just recently found out about it and moved quickly to notify the public of our concern.
How did you find out?
We found out through the Colorado Department of Public Health and also working very closely with the USDA.
Do you believe that we're going to hear other suppliers are going to have the same recall?
I really can't comment. I really don't know if that's the case or not.
But you do know that there were those cases of people who did get sick?
Yes, we do.
It's important that both the industry and the USDA act quickly, which they seem to do in this case.
Caroline, is this just a scare story? Don't eat ground beef because we just don't know?
No, people can eat ground beef if they cook it thoroughly. But it's a big concern that there are 80,000 hamburgers out there that may be contaminated. That's a lot of hamburger.
And July 4th weekend was the weekend, so of course those people probably did get sick, and probably that meat was already eaten. If you're at a restaurant or if you're cooking at home, medium rare is just out for good forever.
At this point, until we can solve this problem, it's much safer to eat your ground beef thoroughly cooked. And for children or elderly, it's a must.
In the old days, we used to just put the meat on the kitchen counter and defrost the meat. Now we're scared to do anything. Let's just go through it again. What is the proper way to defrost meat?
defrost meat in your refrigerator, and then when you're cooking it, make sure that nothing that touches the raw meat touches the cooked meat. That's very important. It's forks, plates, anything.
And we're talking about outside grilling this entire summer, and burgers are the mainstay.
That's right. Hamburgers can be wonderful, but right now they've got to be cooked very thoroughly. Summertime is also the big season for foodborne illness. We may know about 15 illnesses now, but this may grow.
All right, Mr. White, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for joining us with your concerns. And, of course, Carolyn DeWall, thank you. And some of the other stories we're covering tonight on Steals and Deals. If you have to go to the hospital, where's your best chance of survival? A new study looks at the odds. Plus, push the pedal to the metal and don't get caught. Find out where the speed traps are hiding. And Elvis Presley lives on. See why cyberspace is all shook up.
All tonight on Steals and Deals. Again, Janice Lieberman.
And we'll be back with those stories and much more on Steals and Deals right here on CNBC. Stay with us.
I was a little nervous. I've given this presentation I don't know how many times. Morning, everyone.
Boys and girls, we've got a real treat
But
today.
this audience.
We've got Ellie's father, who's with American Airlines. He's the Managing Director, Automation, Electronic Enhancements. Mr. Anderson.
The last thing I wanted was to come across as Ellie's dad, the digit head.
Who here has flown in an airplane before? Oh, well, almost everyone.
So first we checked out our website. Everybody got to plan their own trip,
I want to go to London.
just like you could at home.
He wants to go to London.
And our new electronic boarding. And that was a pretty big hit.
Now we're just beginning to put the in-seat monitors into the plane.
And then I brought out the seats. I felt pretty good. They were as excited about all this as we are. And watching them interact with all this stuff really brought it home for me. I mean, back at the office, we're always thinking about the future. Today, I got to see it.
Oh, dammi una casa dove il buffalo gira, dove I cervi stanno a giocar. Non si sentano mai una brutta parola e il cielo non fa oscuro mai.
Introducing Navigator from Lincoln. What a luxury. Should be.
My mother works at International Paper in the laboratory. This dress is soft, but it's very strong because it's made from wood. A dress made from a tree. I think that's cool. I'm lucky. I'm one of the first girls to wear a dress made from tinsel. Eventually, everyone will have one.
International Paper. We answer to the world.
Congratulations. Your business is growing. Now who's going to do all the work? You need Management Recruiters International, your staffing partner. From teams of skilled salespeople to technical experts to a single key senior manager, MRI takes responsibility and finds the talent you need without missing a beat. After all, you're growing. Why stop now? MRI.
It's out of a sci-fi movie, and it's meant to catch speeders. So hot rodders, heed our warning. A new futuristic weapon is in the hands of the cops in California. It's called LiDAR, a high-tech handheld laser gun. LiDAR sends out an invisible beam that measures and records a car's speed. The Golden Gate Transit District owns two of the $3,900 guns and says they work better than conventional radar. LiDAR is already being used in other cities across the country, so watch out. Well, you wouldn't have to worry about speed guns if you knew where the police were hiding. Well, now those speed traps may be seen from the highway. The information superhighway, that is. Ari Odzer shows us how speeders how to find the site and explains why, surprisingly, the police say they don't care.
You're doing 41 in a 30-mile-per-hour zone.
It can happen to anyone. You're driving along carefree, then you're caught in a speed trap. 147.
A speeding ticket can cost you hundreds of dollars, but this Vanderbilt University student may be able to save you the money. Andy Warner is a 21-year-old senior who operates the Speed Trap Registry, a computer site on the World Wide Web listing speed traps all over the world.
Just about anybody can relate to speed traps and has a story or two of their own. So most people really connect to it in some way, shape, or form.
If you connect to it, here's some of what you'll find. The computer says the village of Biscayne Park is a speed trap. When you go there, you know the police in this tiny North Dade village are serious about speeders.
Does it bug you that people would consider your town a speed trap?
Yes, I take exception to the word trap, but we do strictly enforce the speed limits.
In fact, I got my first ticket there when I was 16, within 4 days of my first driver's license.
Would you call this a speed trap?
No, it's fair warning.
Your car is no match for the laser gun.
I was speeding, I deserved a ticket.
It's 42. Having looked through the speed trap webpage, I know that driving along 90th Avenue in Cooper City, there's a good chance I'll see police officers checking speeders. So I'm making sure to keep my speed down to the limit, 30 miles an hour. So whether or not they write you a ticket, the police are accomplishing their goal of getting people to slow down just by being here. We showed the listing to Cooper City police officers, the slick motorcycle cops the entry refers to.
Does it bother you that you're being referred to as a speed trap here?
Absolutely not. People see that, they know that we're doing our job. And if that means that they slow down because they're reading that on the webpage, that's fine with me.
Anyone can submit an entry, add a new speed trap to the list. The email often comes from drivers who just got busted and sometimes directly from the police. The information superhighway helping drivers on the asphalt highway.
All it's doing, in effect, is helping people slow down on their own in the areas where they really need to watch it.
Be careful, okay?
All right, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And the site address is www.nashville.net/speedtrap. And Elvis has been spotted. No, not in Memphis, but this time on the World Wide Web. This weekend marks the 20th anniversary of the King's death, and while he still lives on in the hearts of his fans, as Mike Wendland reports, cyberspace is now all shook up with tribute to Elvis pages.
On the web, there are some who say Elvis ain't dead, like this page, which speculates that the second floor of Graceland is closed to the public because the King is hiding out there. And then there's the Elvis is Alive site, where the latest sightings are posted. And of course, there are those who, I am not kidding, worship the King. Places like the 24-hour Church of Elvis, the first Presbyterian Church of Elvis, which wants you to write your congressional representative and urge that Elvis's birthday be declared a national holiday. You can also eavesdrop on a cult that holds Elvis seances. I kind of know less than 300 Elvis sites on the web, and there's probably more. Probably the best, though, being this place. This is a list of Elvis links where you can see cool velvet Elvis paintings. You can listen to his recordings, watch his movies, read his secret diary, and naturally, buy Elvis stuff. There's even this site, run by a guy who says his name is Elvis Aaron Presley McLeod. He runs, honest, an Elvis research facility, and he charges $50 an hour. Want to tour Graceland? Well, you can. Visit this webpage. And if you want to know where Elvis shows are on TV in reruns, well, the schedule is online. You want to check out these hunka burning Elvis sites out yourself? Well, head over to my net surfing spot on the World Wide Web. There's the address right there on your screen, and you'll find I've built in direct links for you. Till next time, Mike Wendland for Steals and Deals.
They are the hottest toys around, according to the top retailers in the country. Cyber Pets are the runaway bestsellers since they first hit the shelves this spring. But as Rashonda Tate reports, kids are tiring of the responsibility, and parents are left holding the bag.
Your baby wants to have a little pet. They're one of the summer's hottest toys, Tamagotchis, Cyber Pets that take on a life of their own.
You have to feed it, wash it, play with it, and if you don't, it's going to run away.
But it appears the novelty of these keychain pets is slowly wearing off.
Right now I'm on vacation, kind of, from a Tamagotchi, because they're always beeping at you and stuff, and they're hard to keep up with.
And as with many real-life pets, parents are finding themselves stuck in caring for the critters.
The children this summer have brought them, and when they go to play on the playground or if you go on a field trip and they're going to be away, we have to wear them around our necks and make sure that they get fed and watered and walked.
As a teacher, Trish Battaglia has seen her share of Tamagotchis. She calls them awful toys, which have taken over the lives of some moms.
Her daughter was ice skating, and she had 3, and she had to babysit 3 of them while the children ice skated.
Some parents aren't as understanding.
In about 3 weeks, we're going to go to school, and I'm not sure I'll have time to take care of it, so I think we're going to reprogram it and wake it up when he comes home at 4 o'clock and then put it back to bed at 10. I don't have time to play with the thing.
Those parents who have seen their child tire of the Tamagotchi say it has shown them one thing, not to buy their youngster a real live pet.
Before you check into a hospital, make sure your chances of checking out alive are good. An eye-opening story that's just ahead on Steals and Deals. Stick with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, although appropriate for overhead storage, a notebook computer is just luggage that carries information. It doesn't really care who you are or where you're going. All that really matters is that the little buttons work. And if they don't, they're supported by AST, whose notebooks are backed by 24-hour replacement service. So passengers like this can keep working. Except during takeoff, sir. Tray up.
AST has sent you notebooks featuring Intel Pentium processors with MMX technology.
With Funds Network, I have access to over 3,300 mutual funds, many highly rated. Through Fidelity's website, I can buy funds, analyze them, check prices anytime. I like choices. I love control.
To get started with Funds Network today, call 1-800-FIDELITY.
I got a new job, so I moved my retirement savings to a Fidelity IRA. With Funds Network, I can get all the mutual funds I want, and I have access to Fidelity's retirement specialists. I like that.
To get started with Funds Network today, call 1-800-FIDELITY.
They say Gateway 2000 changed how the world buys computers. Factory direct over the phone. Now we bring you Destination.
It's a big screen PC.
This is cool.
It is TV and a computer.
Huge. Oh my gosh.
He's going to want one of these, you know. Where does it come from?
South Dakota.
There. South Dakota.
Gateway computers feature the Intel Pentium processor. To find out more about Destination or our other PCs, call 1-800-GATEWAY. You've got a friend in the business.
Have you ever wondered where builders and contractors buy their appliances? Well, the answer is right here at Granado Appliance in Valley Stream. Our recently expanded showroom has hundreds of appliance values for you, the consumer, to choose from. All the top brands at great prices, like GE ranges, dishwashers, GE washers, even the exclusive built-in GE Pro-Power refrigerators. Plus, Granado Appliance offers a kind of expertise and service not found at any ordinary appliance store. Come and take advantage of the great buys at Granado Appliance and buy where the builders buy.
Isn't it great knowing you can finally have a beautiful smile without the mess, bother, and expense of other methods? Now it's simple and convenient with these amazing new tooth whitening tablets called OptiWhite.
Developed by dentists, OptiWhite's Minty Fresh tablets are easy to use. They simply dissolve in your mouth, and in just 21 days, you could see results like these. And if you call now, we'll help you keep that beautiful new smile with a free tube of OptiWhite toothpaste, both for only $19.95. Call 1-800-257-5700.
Good news for homeowners and those who are in the market to sell. According to the National Association of Realtors, home values are rising faster than inflation. Well, that means nationally, the median price of a home rose to nearly $124,000. That's a gain of about $4,700. The strongest values were in the South, the weakest in the Northeast. If you plan to go under the knife in the near future, you might want to check out your health plan to see if a major teaching hospital is on its list of available facilities. Our Michelle Tracy has the story of how your odds of surviving a stay improve when your hospital is a major teaching institution.
They're places where doctors of all specialties practice and train other doctors, offering the latest cutting-edge technology and techniques. Compared with their non-teaching counterparts, major teaching hospitals are places where patients with commonly treated serious illnesses, including heart attacks and strokes, have a 19% lower risk of dying, and where the length of that patient's hospital stay is 9% lower.
Our findings suggest that for the two measures we looked at, death rates and length of stay, that quality and efficiency of care may be higher in major teaching hospitals than other hospitals, at least the hospitals that were included in our study.
As reported in the Journal of the American Medical Association, after taking into account how sick each patient was, researchers from Case Western Reserve School of Medicine could not explain what caused the differences in death rates and length of stay among the 30 Northwest Ohio teaching and non-teaching hospitals included in the study.
Our study suggests that care in major teaching hospitals as a group may be associated with better patient outcomes. And if our results are true in other regions of the country, this might be a factor that patients should consider when seeking care.
Part of the dilemma faced by managed care plans in choosing which hospitals to include is that care at teaching hospitals is usually more costly. This is due in part to the free care for the poor that most teaching hospitals provide. Convenience and access are other considerations. For Steals and Deals, I'm Michelle Tracy.
An editorial in the same issue of the AMA Journal questions whether the Ohio study overstates its claims of lower death rates at major teaching hospitals. It also cautions the death rate is not the best measure to use when comparing overall hospital quality. But it is a fact that 180,000 Americans die each year from hospital-related errors in treatment. Joining me now with what you should know before going under the knife is the author of How to Get Out of the Hospital Alive. And we welcome Dr. Sheldon Blau for that. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me, Jennifer.
You actually have a story of your own.
Yes, I do. I was a patient in my own hospital. I had 20 minutes of chest pain, underwent a procedure called an angioplasty. The angioplasty went bad. They ruptured my coronary artery, and I almost died. So I became a patient in my own hospital, and I became the author of a book on how to survive the hospital.
What are some of the tips that you could tell lay people who don't even know as much as you know?
The book is for lay people. As a matter of fact, the book is written as a how-to, what to do once you get into the hospital. One very important thing is you must write your name and put it right over your bed where everybody can see it, and put it on the foot of the bed as well, because errors in hospitals, as you mentioned, are rampant. 180,000 deaths per year as a result of errors made.
You also give a tip about marking body parts.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Wrong-sided surgery is a commonplace. We've all read and seen patients who have had the wrong part of their body operated on. We suggest that we, being Elaine Schimberg, my co-author, and myself, to mark your body. Write down with a magic marker or with a felt tip pen, do this side, operate here. It's a very effective way to be certain that the surgeon is doing the right side.
I mean, that sounds drastic, but we do hear about that.
It happens
so
all
it's
the
not a
time.
dumb idea.
Not at all. Not at all. It's a very good idea. There are numerous cases of wrong-sided surgery, patients who have had the wrong limb removed, patients who have had the wrong lung removed, patients who have had brain surgery on the wrong side.
You can often be intimidated by nurses, by the doctors when they're coming in because you're laid out and they're in charge of your life. How many questions do you need to ask them?
You have to ask them many questions. The first question that you have to ask them is, are you the only one with your last name on the floor? When you get into a hospital, the very first thing that you should do is make sure there's no one who has the same name that you do. And the reason for that is medication errors are rampant. It's very easy if there are two patients with the same name for the wrong patient to be given the medication.
What about medication? Should you say, what are you
Yes,
giving me? Is it your
absolutely.
business? They'll say, don't worry, I'm in charge.
No. What you must be certain of is that don't be afraid to ruffle feathers. That's the first thing. Second thing is that every patient who goes into the hospital should have an advocate. An advocate is a person who knows what the doctor's orders are and who knows that when medication is ordered, that this is on the list that your doctor ordered for you. Don't be intimidated. Don't be bullied. Remember, mistakes happen. Our book is to make sure that the mistakes don't happen to you.
All right, Dr. Blau, the name of the book is How to Get Out of the Hospital Alive. We're glad you're alive. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And here are two of the stories we're working on for tomorrow's Steals and Deals. Is your PC pokey? Make it run faster. A new high-tech way to jog your computer's memory. Plus, they're sexy, sultry, and slinky. See how the hottest lingerie styles you won't be seeing on the runways. And coming up next on Equal Time, did John F. Kennedy Jr. speak the truth about his family, or did he betray them? And as always, remember to stay alert. Now you know why from today. Hamburgers, hospitals, all that. Because if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I'm Janice Lieberman. Have a good night. We will see you tomorrow night. Be careful.
This is a CNBC News Break. I'm John Snyder. After 9 days, no sign the UPS strike will end soon. Over 180,000 Teamsters remain off the job, but UPS management says some 15,000 will not have jobs, even if the strike ends soon, because UPS has lost so many customers.
Our customers have lost a tremendous amount of confidence in UPS this week as a result of this irresponsible strike. We're going to lose business as a result of it. The amount of business we lose will affect the number of jobs we provide for our people.
If UPS is determined to rob the future for American working families, the labor movement will do whatever it takes to fight back.
The Dow fell by 101 points. No particular bad news, but investors may be anticipating reports of retail sales and July producer prices due out on Wednesday. More news in 30 minutes, right here.
Right Incorporated. Oh, hi, Mr. Wright. Sure, just 1 minute.
Hello, everyone. I've had to cut my vacation short. I'll be in the office in
10 minutes? See you then.
Ericsson mobile phones. That's the power of voice.
I just love doing that.
I'm Bill Berger, shareholder and director of the Berger Funds. The volatile markets of today have a lot of people questioning their investment strategies. I give them the same advice I gave in my 44 years as an investment manager. You need two things, courage and patience. Courage to ride out the inevitable peaks and valleys, and the patience to stay the course. After all, during the last 30 years, stock returns have outperformed government bonds, treasury bills, and the rate of inflation. There's no denying the market has its ups and downs, but don't lose sight of the big picture, because it's the patient investors who usually get where they want to go. To learn more about the growing family of Berger no-load funds, including our performance figures, call 800-333-1001. That's 800-333-1001. We will send you all the information you need and help you get moving towards your goals.
First in business worldwide. You're watching CNBC.
Tired of that annoying old ring? Introducing Jingle Ring. New microchip technology that changes the sound of your old phone ring to one of 8 pre-recorded jingles you choose. So get rid of that unpleasant ring and make your phone sing.
Pick up the phone.
With Jingle Ring. You simply plug your phone into Jingle Ring. It's that easy. There's a jingle for everyone in the family.
Can't you hear me, baby? Won't you pick up the phone?
Your phone never sounded this good.
Pick up the phone. I know you're at home. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
So call now and get Jingle Ring, complete with 8 pre-recorded jingles for only $19.95. But hurry, it won't last long. Call now.
To order Jingle Ring, use your credit card and call 1-800-813-5522 or send check or money order for $19.95 plus $5.95 shipping and handling to Jingle Ring. P.O. Box 910, Department 20, Gardnerville, Nevada.
Libel on the internet. Top presidential aide is taking on cyberspace gossip columnists.
And did John F. Kennedy Jr. break the Klan code just to goose George? That's tonight on Equal Time.
Welcome to Equal Time. Jane Wallace, the original Equal Timer, is again here tonight, probably trying to steal some more of my lines. Jane?
The original Equal Timer has a little long in the tooth. That sounds long in the tooth. Yeah, thanks, babe. And, of course, our show would figure out our excuse to show that half-naked picture of JFK Jr. That'll be up just a little bit later, and you will have to wait for it.
But first, yesterday we were talking right here on Equal Time how sleazy is too sleazy for the press. I didn't think there was such a thing, but we did talk about it. Now tonight we're going to go on to another story, because on the internet there's a story, yesterday's story being about the president and sexual advances, but yesterday Matt Drudge, the same fellow that wrote the story about the president, is under fire again about printing allegations about a top Clinton aide, a fellow that just took the office over there at the White House, Sidney Blumenthal, that he has problems with spousal abuse. Blumenthal's attorney, William McDaniel, is here with us in the studio, and just so that we can state right now, Sidney Blumenthal absolutely denies any truth whatsoever to the allegation. We want to note also Matt Drudge was asked to be on again tonight. We did not get a response from him, however. Bill McDaniel, I want to thank you very much for being with us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
And let me just get this now. Sidney Blumenthal is over there at the White House all of 24 hours.
First day at work.
First day at work. He's been about 20 years in the media.
Yes.
And he comes over, and there's this little report on the internet that says he has a problem.
It's on his desk when he comes in the morning.
This is their idea of a welcome mat.
Right. And it's on his wife's desk, too. She works in the White House as well, as you know. And they come into work in the morning, and here it is on their desks, a copy of the internet story, which this fellow Drudge has put out overnight on the Drudge Report, containing just the most scurrilous false allegations about Sidney Blumenthal that are imaginable in this day and age. And the story said that he had a spousal abuse past, that it was an explosive story, that court records existed which would demonstrate this, that the story had been effectively covered up, and that had been circulating in Washington for years.
So Mr. Blumenthal calls you his lawyer, and your response to those allegations is?
Every single one of them is false. Every last one of them.
All right, now, you obviously contacted Matt Drudge. He takes a look, makes some calls to his sources, whatever he does, and he says, guess what? I don't have any proof of this. I cannot confirm it. He does a public apology. He pulls it off the internet, and he says, if any harm was done, I apologize. I think I've been had. You, in a lawsuit which you're proposing to sue him in case he does not give sources to you, have suggested that you will sue him. You do have to prove malicious intent, do you not?
Well, you have to prove under the law in a case like this what's called actual malice, which means you have to prove that Drudge acted with a high degree of awareness that the story was false or probably false. And there's a case right on this point that the Supreme Court decided about 20 years ago called Herbert v. Lando. You may remember it grew out of a 60 Minutes show. And that case made it clear that where somebody like Drudge gets a story like this and doesn't do anything to check it out.
You're talking reckless disregard.
Reckless disregard for the truth.
Okay, now bring us up to the minute here, which is that you gave Mr. Drudge until 5 o'clock Eastern Time.
Yes.
To respond to your demand that he reveal his sources.
Right, and produce the court records that he claimed exist.
Okay, now, as we went to airtime tonight, what happened?
Well, we heard this morning, first thing, we got a fax from him when we came in the office stating that he was taking the story off, pulling it back. And that's the last we heard from him.
Well, shouldn't that be good enough?
No, in fact, the story can't be pulled back. It's all over. You can pull it off the internet right now, even as we're sitting here.
So my question is, what are you going to do about it?
Well, I think that Mr. Blumenthal and Mrs. Blumenthal haven't quite decided yet, but I'm preparing a lawsuit.
All right, now let me ask you, though. The fact that he now says, listen, I got two sources, whether you believe or not, he says he had two sources, he thinks he's been had, he has no court records, and he obviously doesn't have the funds to put an investigator on it. He's just a gossip columnist at best, moves gossip. Do you have a case against somebody who's apologized like he has, pulled it back, done everything he can to prevent further harm, and to apologize for any harm he has created? Do you have any case?
Yeah, the apology is a hollow gesture. When you send this thing out on the internet, it's available to millions of people across the country. You leave it out there for hours. You know it's going to be picked up and put into these various websites across the country, and that's where it is now. It's never going to come off of internet, and the damage is enormous. And for him then to say, well, maybe I didn't have a story, maybe I didn't know what I was talking about, it's too late for that.
Why do you think that story was put out by someone in the first place? Do you think he made it up, or do you think somebody planted this story, and why?
Either he made it up or his sources made it up, and he didn't bother to check any of it, one or the other. And it seems to me that it's got political overtones.
But what kind of political overtones?
Well, I don't know, but it appears to me that it's some type of part of a campaign to discredit people that work for the president. Not that I think that makes any difference. I wouldn't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat about whom this was said. We can't have this in our political system.
Bill, I couldn't agree with you more that it's awful to have somebody's reputation destroyed for whatever reason. To go out there with information that's awful as what is being suggested about Mr. Blumenthal is a terrible, terrible thing. But this is part of the political process. Mr. Blumenthal has been in the press for the last 20 years, and one of the ways one goes after candidates in the press is character assassination. It's done all the time. And we're told it wasn't malicious, there's nothing you can do about it, they just assumed it, they took it from this piece of information or that piece of information, and yet now he's on the receiving end. You really think you have a case? Seriously?
This isn't the typical journalistic story that's based at least on something. This story is completely made up. There is no court case. There never has been a court case. There's never been any spousal abuse, nothing. And if we don't draw the line somewhere at this type of stuff, it's just going to poison the political system more and more.
Okay, but why would somebody want to make something up like that and greet someone on his first day of his job at the White House with fiction?
I don't know. It's there's an atmosphere of immaturity to it. There's an atmosphere of that these people think they can say anything about people, that it's all a game. Well, it's not a game when you're playing with the reputation of people.
Well, okay, but are you prepared then to actually prove malice on this guy's part, or just that he ran with something too fast?
No, there was no way that he could have done this story if he had taken one step to check this story, just one. He would have known it was false.
Yeah, but he doesn't. But see, my problem with you is the guy's a gossip columnist. He's got a little internet thing, and he puts information he hears, he puts it out. He's been doing this all along, so it's not as if this one is a particular case he didn't check. He checked all the others. I do not see any malice.
He's wrong about 30% of the time.
20, which is better than most mainline press, might add.
Well, I'm not so sure.
I don't see any malice in this man. And the fact that if you pursued a lawsuit, it seems to me the only purpose is because he doesn't have the money to sustain it. You guys could crush him clearly. You want his sources. But what does his source give you? Why would you crush this guy if all you're really after is his source? If he gives those, he's finished as well.
No, I'm after whoever it was that made this up and decided that they could broadcast it. Because they have besmirched the reputation. They have said absolutely false things about two people that don't deserve to have this said about them. Just because you go into political life doesn't mean you ought to...
source.
But Matt Drudge,
I think we can get the source in this case.
Matt Drudge intimated to the Washington Post that he thought maybe he'd just been used by some political hacks.
I think he's just trying to cover his tracks.
Well, but what else is it? If it is...
Either he made it up or he participated in making it up. And if he's going to claim that, he was gullible, that these people gave him a story and he didn't do anything about it, well, he needs to be a little less gullible.
I agree, and I suspect he's going to be in the future. But you know, let's go back to the source.
The question is whether he's going to be rich and gullible or very poor and gullible.
He's going to be poor.
I've got to take a break.
But let me just ask just one second. I tell Jane something, okay? I just tell her this crazy story about somebody in the public life, and she goes and moves it, and when it's moved, it gets in the press. You can't go after me.
No, but wait a minute. Moves it in what context? I don't have an internet paid service where I disseminate information. Now, my question is...
Yes, but she says he's going after their sources. You just want to make the source public and chastise them publicly, do you not?
No, I want to find out who did this and bring a lawsuit against them. And Drudge is part of this aspect.
Nice flip, Freud. All right, on that, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to widen out who's public, who's private, and whose business is all of this anyway. Stay with us on Equal Time, and thank you, William Stanley.
You're welcome.
A black Lincoln?
Yes, sir.
Introducing Navigator from Lincoln.
Why didn't you just have him park it in the lot?
I didn't want it scratched.
Navigator from Lincoln. What a luxury it should be.
Sales are going down.
It depends on how you look at it.
The IRS is on the phone. The last thing you want to worry about now is paper jamming. So you want great white recycled content paper from Union Camp. It's as good for your business as it is for the environment. It's virtually worry-free because you've got enough to worry about.
That's one of our vice presidents having a bad day.
Great white, only from Union Camp. One less thing to worry about.
It's a trip to paradise, and this man has lost his vacation money. And so has he. This man was carrying cash. But he insisted on American Express traveler's checks. So while he had no one to turn to, this man called American Express as he tried calling home. With just one phone call, American Express can refund your lost or stolen traveler's checks just about any time, any place. Don't take chances. Take American Express Traveler's Checks, the smart way to do more.
When Fortune Investor's Guide features the very best mutual funds year after year, the Kaufman Fund is among the best. And when Smart Money chooses superstar funds year after year, the Kaufman Fund is there. With a decade of service, fund managers Lawrence Oriana and Hans Utsch have been at the top year after year. The Kaufman Fund for the aggressive portion of your portfolio. Call now for your free prospectus, 800-824-4200, 800-824-4200.
We're back. You're joining us on Equal Time. They say that American journalism is only as strong as its weakest link. That link seems to be stretching thinner and thinner over time. Joining us now to discuss it, Howard Kurtz, media critic for The Washington Post, and Steve Dunleavy, columnist with The New York Post. And welcome both of you gentlemen. And how low is too low is my question, Howie Kurtz.
Well, when you're getting into, you know, about the most basic personal charge you can make, accusing somebody of beating his wife, you ought to have a little bit of evidence. I mean, nobody's saying that the Matt Drudges of the world ought to operate by New York Times standards. Obviously, he describes himself as a gossip monger, but there are basic questions of fairness, like reaching the person and getting their comment, having some records. He didn't do any of that.
Okay, but your own article described his his prolific output as a tip sheet. I mean, what standard do you hold the guy by? He isn't a large organization with a ton of nexus to pull up.
No, he's a one-man operation, and he's a likable character. And when he's dishing dirt about, you know, who's mad at who in Hollywood, we can all have a good laugh. When you get as personal as accusing somebody of spousal abuse, then you are raising the stakes. You are saying this is a serious thing. I have sources. Now you aren't acting as a quasi-journalist. And the thing about the internet, I mean, 10 years ago, Matt Drudge could have stood on the corner and handed out copies of his newsletter. Nobody would have cared. But now he can press a button and zillions of people can see it instantaneously.
Steve, let me get you into this discussion. Do you see the fact that Matt Drudge has come out, apologized, pulled it off his internet, said I made a mistake, I didn't have the kind of proof I should have had? Does this change things with respect to that lawsuit, do you believe?
No, as you well know, I'm no great fan of the Clinton White House, but I'd give him a journalistic beating, a legal beating, and a physical beating for what he did. You can't turn around. I quite agree with Mr. Kurtz. You just can't do that. And the internet's something else now. We're in a new technology. And I think he indeed should be sued. And as I say, as you well know, I'm no fan of the Clinton White House. I just think it's absolutely outrageous. You talk about a spousal abuse. What next they're going to talk about? Homosexuality or pedophilia or... you know, animal abuse. I mean, it just is just not right. It just isn't right here.
Well, are you saying it isn't right because it was sloppy, or are you saying it isn't right because it was such a nasty allegation and because there was malice involved? What is your guess?
On all counts, and I would certainly hold many of the liberal press accountable in a very similar way, although I think this is quite outrageous. First of all, if it's not malice or forethought, it certainly is reckless disregard for the truth, and Mr. Kurtz and myself look less afford to have this nitwit running around saying these ridiculous things, and that guy's about 3 sandwiches short of a full picnic.
You know, I think there's no question we all agree. Reckless disregard for the truth is unacceptable in journalism, but I think that there's a point here that was just touched upon slightly, and that is, Howard, that up to now, the press has been liberal, and it's been very free. Generally speaking, the press is fairly liberal.
It's shockingly liberal.
It is.
And they've been very
sick-makingly
liberal.
Lord, can we get the Baywatch goggles off here and get to the point?
And now we've got the internet. Okay, the liberal press, they have trashed candidate after candidate out there without, I mean, it's been awful. Character assassination is not too light of a word. And nobody says anything in the press. They say, well, maybe went too strong, but not to worry. And now it's internet.
Only a story
now
because
internet is
Sidney
conservative.
Blumenthal
No,
is
what
not a
I'm saying
conservative?
is Sidney Blumenthal has been part of that for 20 years, and I don't remember hearing him say to his colleagues, you guys are out of line. You shouldn't be saying these things.
He was
now,
open for lobbying.
let me ask you, Howard, do you agree now that the internet has stepped in and without the kind of any kind of financial backing and investigators, there are people just writing newsletters about what they hear is going on, that this can be a real problem now for liberals?
Well, I guess I don't see it in quite the same political coloration as you do, Bay. I mean, if Matt Drudge had put up a story about the most conservative of Republicans having beating his wife or having a drug problem or whatever, I'd be equally outraged.
I would agree.
At the same time, I'm not a net basher. I'm online every day. I think that it's great that ordinary people don't have to have a corporate bureaucracy in order to have a voice and put out what they want to put out. But with that comes a little bit of responsibility. I mean, the First Amendment, which we all believe in, gives you the right to be irresponsible. When you're this irresponsible, and as I say, judges are likable character, but you've got to learn that you can't just trample on people's reputations just because you've got a modem.
Let's assume, for the sake of discussion, that this was a naive act on Mr. Drudge's part. That here's a one-man band putting out a tip sheet somewhere in a basement in Los Angeles and feeding his cat with the money he makes off of it. That he just got used, let's say. Let's say that there were a couple of people wanted to make Sidney Blumenthal look bad, so you get a source, you get a confirmation, you get two. How common would that be in terms of the anatomy of a Washington schmear?
Well, the truth is, journalists are used all the time. We're used by the White House, we're used by people on Capitol Hill, but usually in the transmission of political messages. The danger here is for all of us in the so-called respectable mainstream press, when we simply repeat something that we see on a Drudge-like report, and, you know, it appears on page 6 of the New York Post, or it appears in the style section of the Washington Post. We haven't checked it out. We say, aha, a report on the internet says, then we are joining in that act of irresponsibility.
Well, Howard, I think, one second, Howard, I think you're talking about passing on the libel, which is a fair statement. But I think in the case of, now I'm not quite sure about the Washington Post, your great liberal newspaper, but I know that in the New York Post, of course, it was
another great local newspaper, by the way.
A great local newspaper. It was, of course, looked upon with absolute disdain, as it should have been. I'm appalled by this.
All right, okay,
now luckily I'm computer challenged, so I don't know too much about the internet.
Steve, let me ask you, is there a different standard for a gossip columnist, for instance, somebody just moving stories, than there is for some editorial writer or front page New York Times?
Well,
I can tell you absolutely that there is, now 1 second, please believe me, there is no different standard, because malice aforethought and reckless disregard for the truth, and I can tell you I've worked on 6 continents and I'm in my 42nd, 43rd year of journalism. I've been sued twice, never once successfully, and both under British law, which is much tighter than it is here. There is no different standards. Now, if a gossip columnist wants to say that Bay Buchanan was out seen holding hands with Steve Dunleavy and it's wrong, then I suppose we feel there's no malice aforethought. There may be some reckless disregard for the truth.
Yeah, but I might disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
But I would say...
We've got to take a quick break, though, Steve. When we come back, we're going to be talking John and his latest marketing ploy. You all stay with us here on Equal Time.
Accommodations in Washington, D.C. provided by the Hyatt Regency Washington on Capitol Hill. Steps away from the nation's capital, Union Station, and the Smithsonian Museums. The Hyatt Regency Washington on Capitol Hill will meet all your travel needs.
What does Oppenheimer Fund's approach to risk management mean? Simple. Every time the market is doing this or that, I don't have to panic.
Oppenheimer Funds, the right way to invest.
In cities and towns across America, you'll find us. We're more than reliable repair, the latest technology, or the best phone network. We're telemedicine. We're distance learning for your kids. We're volunteers in a crisis. And there for the Little League. We're your local phone companies, and we give something back to the community. After all, we live here too.
Doctor about Zocor? Call 1-800-MERC-75 for your free Zocor guide to healthy living. Zocor, be there.
A daughter. A daughter. She's going to need all my love. She's going to need lots of hugs and hours of stories and dolls, braces, designer jeans, summer camp, a second phone, third bathroom, computer, college car, and a huge black tie wedding.
With ice sculptures. Honey?
Why does Visa Gold give you so much purchase power? Because believe us, you're going to need it.
Congratulations, Mr. Miller.
Visa Gold, it's everywhere you want to be.
One magazine hypes tech stocks, another healthcare, another high-tech healthcare. What my financial advisor told me makes more sense.
Oppenheimer Funds, the right way to invest.
Welcome back. Round 3. The Kennedy silence has been broken. John Kennedy Jr., in an editorial in the latest edition of his magazine, George, criticizes his Kennedy cousins, calling them...
There's the shot, Faye. There's the big payoff here.
For bad behavior. Now, I want to go right to you, Steve, because I know you've written an editorial that suggests that Mrs. Kennedy, Jackie Kennedy, would be thrilled with this behavior. And I'm going to tell you something. The first thing I learned in that house of ours, where we had 9 children, and my father explained that a neighbor told him one day that something had taken place that was internal to our family, that had been taken, that we only knew about because we talked about it at the dinner table. And he let us know in no uncertain terms, nothing ever goes outside that house that is bad. Anything we say about our family and the public is supportive, always. And as Mrs. Kennedy is a first-class lady, she followed that to the T. Now her son is trashing his cousins in public. If I were she, would be coming out of my grave right now to find the little turkey, and you're suggesting she'd be very pleased about all this.
Yeah, well, I'd say the following. I think we have to recognize the tragedy of within which young John was brought up, of course, but remember one thing. He wasn't brought up at Kennedy. He was brought up at Bouvier. You also must remember something else. The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, and Jackie Onassis Kennedy, Jackie Bouvier Onassis Kennedy, imparted on John the stories of her father, her beloved father, Black Jack Bouvier, who, strangely enough, was sent broke by her father-in-law, Joe Kennedy, when he was made head of the SEC. It was a little bit like To Catch a Thief. Joe Kennedy, master manipulator, almost a semi-gangster, was indeed put in charge of the Securities Exchange Commission, the first one, as let's get the best thief in the world. And they got Joe Kennedy, and the first person he sent broke was Jack Bouvier. And believe me, Jackie Onassis Bouvier Kennedy never forgot that. And I could say, I would think one thing, that young John has been kept away while Jackie was alive, was kept away from those Kennedy kids. I remember covering the William Kennedy Smith trial.
All right, so you're thinking that he did a good thing. My thought is this: the essay which accompanies this unbelievably handsome photograph, if I do...
Hey, the Kennedy cell. Listen, there's
handsome photograph.
the Kennedy cell.
It's sophomoric, it's airy, it's not such a big bash on the cousins as it appears to be, and it's overblown. Should we care after all
one second, I think you're right.
Or are we all just gripped for the middle of this myth?
Hold on, I think you're right. I think, first of all, it was only a mild spanking of his cousin, and I think young John has discovered what we knew all along, Steve, the Kennedy cell.
Let's get Howard.
Okay, let's go to those pecs.
Howard,
go ahead.
But didn't he put the dirty linen right there in the pub?
Oh,
George
no, he put a couple of napkins with ketchup on them. They've got real dirty linen in that family.
What is he doing? The guys are down and out, and he's beating them up. This has no class whatsoever, and Jackie had class. Would you not agree?
I have a slightly more skeptical view of it, Bay, which is, it's August. He's got a magazine to run. He's obviously getting a lot of attention for this, headlines on shows like this. The very existence of George Magazine is because John Kennedy Jr. is a celebrity editor. The magazine's doing all right, but it hasn't quite been getting the buzz recently. They can't find any more people to put on those white wigs and pose on the cover. So a mild little wrapping of the knuckles in the cover
Howard, you're
is the way to
100%
get
right.
the headlines.
Is there anything
You're 100% right. As a matter of fact, they should actually call the magazine John, not George. I think Howard's right. It was a mild spanking. I do think, however, that John really is John Bouvier and not John Kennedy.
Okay,
but Howard's right, everyone's right, and we all love each other.
That naked Kate Moss on the cover and the naked John Jr. on the inside. If we're really going to sell a magazine, let's put it up front where it counts. On the other hand, I feel used just talking about it. I feel like this is just a biscuit thrown out for the dog days.
You want to go take a shower?
Stop talking about it.
Yes, we're all chewing on the bone. And why are we? Because we're all feeding that old myth
But there is no question, Howard, that there's nothing honorable about using the sins of your cousins to help sell your magazine.
Well, at the same time, there's nothing honorable about sleeping with the family babysitter. And maybe John Kennedy felt that he had to speak out while selling magazines in the process.
Then speak out and say it was an awful thing he did, although I think he shouldn't do that because enough people were saying that. Everybody knows it's awful. When it happens in your family, you keep to yourself, you're supportive, And publicly, you don't say it was a good thing. You're just supportive of your family members. And to use families or friends and their troubles to sell you magazine.
Well, is it
I'd say
possible
John is the one that's taking the hit after this one.
Well, maybe, but maybe it's time he really has to make a buck. Is that possible, Steve Dunleavy, with about 15 seconds so we have to close out here?
There's no question that the Kennedys by the year 2000 won't have too much money, and even though that Jackie did leave him some money, he has to get an honest job, and it looks like he's doing it because he's discovered that the Kennedys sell.
Yeah, imagine that. Okay, on that note, we're out of time. We did chew on that bone. We did show you that photograph. Thank you to Howie Kurtz, Steve Dunleavy. Faye, it was really interesting and great to work with you. I tried not to step on the lines tonight. Up next, Hardball with Chris Matthews, except it will be special guest host James Carville on President Clinton's legacy, or the absence thereof. You all have a great evening.
On Hardball.
Hi, I'm Chris Matthews. Sitting in for me tonight on Hardball, James the Ragin' Cajun Carville.
Go inside the Beltway to see who the winners and losers are in Washington. Next on Hardball with Chris Matthews.
This is a CNBC News Break. I'm John Snyder. The UPS strike continues with both sides standing firm. No talks are scheduled. UPS says thousands of jobs will be lost to strikers because many UPS customers have taken their business elsewhere and may not return when that strike is over. On Wall Street, the Dow was down by 101 points. It's been mostly down the past few days, but most analysts remain upbeat.
It's very normal to get these corrections backing and filling, but as long as inflation is low, corporate profits are rising. Even if you don't get further multiple expansion, the path of least resistance on a longer-term basis for the stock market ought to be up.
In Hawaii, lava from the Kilauea volcano has now totally covered a 700-year-old temple considered one of Hawaii's most sacred sites. The volcano's been spewing lava since January, flowing at a rate of 150 gallons a minute. More news in 30 minutes, right here on CNBC.
To accomplish everything you need to do on the ground, often you have to spend time in the sky. Now, what you do both places can help you get where you really want to go. Introducing the Delta Sky Miles credit card from American Express, giving you American Express service on the ground and Delta Airlines service in the sky.
You can apply now, right over the phone. Just call 1-800-SKY-MILE.
With the Delta Sky Miles credit card, every dollar you spend gets you a Delta Sky Mile. And when you buy your Delta ticket with it, you gain even faster. You get 1.5 Sky Miles for every dollar you spend. Plus, you receive 5,000 bonus Sky Miles automatically with the card. And when you apply now, you'll benefit from this low introductory rate.
Call 1-800-SKY-MILE and apply now. We can take all the information in just a few minutes.
Call today. The sooner you get the Delta Sky Miles credit card, the sooner you can get someplace you really want to go.
Watch what happens tonight. Prime time on CNBC.
Most every mattress ad claims they've got the lowest prices. So where do you shop? Don't shop. Just call 1-800-MATTRESS. Dial a mattress. In a recent price comparison, Dial a mattress was $300 less than a large sleep chain on a comparable queen-size set. $300 less at Dial a mattress. And we couldn't say it if it wasn't true. So get the best deal on Sealy, Simmons, and Serta. Call Dial a mattress, 1-800-MATTRESS. And remember, leave off the last S for savings.
Have you ever wondered where builders and contractors buy their appliances? Well, the answer is right here at Granado Appliance in Valley Stream. Our recently expanded showroom has hundreds of appliance values for you, the consumer, to choose from. All the top brands at great prices, like GE ranges, dishwashers, GE washers, even the exclusive built-in GE profile refrigerators. Plus, Granado Appliance offers a kind of expertise and service not found at any ordinary appliance store. Come and take advantage of the great buys at Granado Appliance and buy where the builders buy.
Hi, I'm James Carville, sitting in for Chris Matthews, and this is Hardball. When a candidate or elected official gets in trouble, they can usually count on their political consultant to come to the rescue. But where do the political consultants go when they get in trouble? Dick Morris, Ed Rollins, and Roger Stone are all political advisors who've had their private lives paraded in the press. Are the personal lives of political image makers now fair game for public scrutiny? That's our hardball fight tonight. Joining me in Washington are Republican pollster, a cum laude graduate of the George Washington University School of Law, a protege of one of my heroes in this business, Dick Worthen, and Kellyanne Fitzpatrick, who proves that you don't have to be ugly to be successful in Washington. Which I'm sort of proving.
You're proving, James.
What is that? The grinning skull.
What
here.
am I proving, James?
But yeah, Kellyanne, I've been on a number of shows with her, and